Hi, and thank you for taking time today to learn about Faddom's exciting new integration with Nutanix Flow. Nutanix Flow is Nutanix's native software-defined microsegmentation solution. It's a powerful tool for creating zero-trust policies and improving the security posture of your IT environment. Faddom integrates seamlessly with Nutanix Flow, helping you easily plan and actually create security policies designed for and push directly into Nutanix Flow, saving you countless of man hours in the design process and the sometimes tedious implementation process. So let's take a quick look at what Faddom does and how Faddom does it. First, let's take a look at how to create a microsegmentation policy manually in Nutanix Flow without Faddom. So here we are in the Nutanix Prism Central main dashboard. Let's go to Network Security and Security Policies. This is where we would create our microsegmentation policies. We see we have a couple of quarantine policies already created, but for microsegmentation, we want to create an application policy. So we can give it a name, test. The first step in creating a microsegmentation policy is to add a secured entity. Now we can see here that a secured entity is a category of VMs in Nutanix, not a. So before we can even begin to create our security policies, we need to create all the needed categories for all the VMs in our environment and then place those VMs in those categories. So let's just take a quick step back and look at what's involved in that process. So in order to create the categories, first we go to Administration and Categories. And here is where we can create the new categories. We give it a name and a value, and then the category can be created. We would need to create categories for all of the VM, all the different types of categories we would need for all the VMs in our environment. Once the categories are only after the categories are created, can we come here to VMs, select the VMs we want to apply to put in a particular category, come to Actions, Other Actions, Manage Categories, and then we can select the category that we've created and place the VMs in there. Only after creating all of the categories, all of the needed categories, and correctly placing all of the VMs in their appropriate categories, can we then come back to security policies and actually begin to create the policy. So let's assume we've done all that. That could be hours and hours worth of work. We then can click Secured Entity, select our category, Add, and now we can see that automatically it's allowing outbound connections to all destinations, but we would want to add other destinations to those categories, maybe delete that all destinations and specifically add the different categories we would want to have for outbound, and the same thing for inbound. I think you can see that this can be quite a long and time-consuming process. The planning is the majority of it, but also the implementation itself can take some manual effort. So how does Faddom help with all of this? Well, Faddom automates and streamlines the entire process. Faddom helps you create your categories, place the VMs in those categories, and create the security policies automatically. We do all this based on the application maps that you've already created. So here we can see some of the application maps we've already created. And in order to create the microsegmentation policy for them, we come to our secure module, microsegmentation, click Add Policy, and we just select the application map that we already have for the application we want to protect. In this case, we'll use Faddom Flow Test. Here we see the saved baseline of our application map, and we can choose visually to want to remove any of these connections. We can also see this in a list view looking at the actual inbound and outbound rules for this application as it exists as a saved baseline. We then click Next, and this takes us to our dependency screen. This is showing the inbound and outbound dependencies for the servers participating in this application, but these are dependencies that exist outside of this application. There are often shared resources. So here we can select to add our inbound dependencies. We can also select the outbound dependencies that we want to add. The bottom list is infrastructure dependencies. Now, in this particular environment, we don't have any, but this would be things like your DNS, DHCP, NTP, Kerberos, things of that nature, services that you would definitely want to add to your microsegmentation policy so the servers in this application can continue to function. So once we've again validated the dependencies we want to add, we click next. And we have one more final review of the updated security policy. Here we can see we've added some of these dependencies to our inbound rules. We've also added a few to our outbound rules. Great, so now we've validated that this policy is correct and this is the policy that we want to apply. We simply click Save and Apply Policies, select our Nutanix Prism Central server, and click Apply Selected. It takes just a minute for it to push the policy into Nutanix. And the Nutanix Flow policy has been successfully created. Let's take a look at it inside Nutanix Prism Central. Let's give a refresh to the screen. And there's our policy, the Faddom policy, Faddom Flow test. Let's take a look at it. So here we can see our main category, our other inbound and outbound connections. And this policy is in monitor mode at the time. When Faddom pushes a policy into Nutanix Flow, it is always pushed in monitor mode. This means that you would get alerted to any violations of this policy, but we will not immediately stop these connections from occurring. But in order to do that, all you have to do is click Apply Enforce. This policy would be enforced inside Nutanix Flow, and any connections apart from what's listed here would be stopped. Faddom streamlines and organizes the entire microsegmentation policy creation process. No more tedious hours spent finding your dependencies, organizing your Nutanix VMs, and creating the needed policies. Faddom does it all in just minutes. And thank you so much for taking the time today to learn about our Nutanix Flow integration. Have a great day and happy mapping.